them. So you can see here on the slide that this, and I will speak only for this process, for the COP, it is a complex negotiation process. We are 180 parties with so many topics to discuss and negotiate over the years, and every decision builds up from a previous decision. So you need to be aware many, many times of what happened before. And this is why now NegotiateCOP can come and help us in this, to bring speed up, because sometimes we also have full rotation of human resources, and they are not aware of what happened before in the past. So these kind of tools can support them to speed up and bring us up to date into the process and engage more effectively during negotiations. So this is what creates, in my opinion also, an information asymmetry in the process. Not because some negotiators care more, but because they simply don't have the same capacity to keep up. We are overwhelmed of all the negotiation items we need to follow, and sometimes we just, and I will speak for myself, we are 2 to 10 people on the ground compared to developed nations that they have 200 and over participants, and each of them assigned to a topic. So sometimes when you are trying to cope up into one item, you already got 5 more on the other side. So this is the biggest challenge. So here you have, this is the source of all information, the UNFCCC submission portal. And this is the source that we use, that Data to Policy uses for NegotiateCOP. So all the information comes from the submission portal, and it's full reliable, it's full 100% public, so you don't have to worry about using any kind of disclosures, or you don't need to worry about that you are sharing beyond what you would like to share, and this especially to the negotiators from the Global South. So the UNFCCC submission is a goldmine of information. Every country's proposals, technical inputs, and positions are stored here. But the reality is it's not easy to work with. Thousands of PDFs, inconsistent formatting. We don't have a specific format for them, so you can submit whatever you wish, 4 to 6 pages, it will depend. No way to search by topic or compare positions across countries. So even though the data is public doesn't mean that it's accessible. So if you want to see who said what about, say, the global goal on adaptation, for instance, you may have to open and read through dozens of separate documents in parallel. So while all parties have access in theory, in practice, it can take hours, sometimes days, to find and analyze the information you need to prepare a strong intervention. So that's before we even get to what's happening inside the room. The negotiations need to face themselves. So in this slide, we can see that this is the real challenge brought to life. And this is what we're living right now. I wouldn't say at this moment in time, but this was yesterday night. So you have there, these are the agenda topics. You have 45 climate action, 35 for COP, 35 for CMA, so this is too much. Imagine for a small delegation of 10 persons. You can barely make it. So you need to prioritize according to your nations, but then I ask you here at the audience, what about the fairness in the process? We believe in multilateralism, as you just said, well said, Johannes, and I still believe that this is the vehicle that serves the purpose. But still, we need to think about and reflect about, is it being truly inclusive? Is it being truly fair? And this is also why this tool can help to leverage the field. And it's only a supportive tool to negotiators, to the human being. This won't replace it. So we, and this I speak to my colleagues, delegates, you shouldn't have fear of AI. I rather prefer to engage you and encourage you to learn to use it, because it can be of great support in all endeavors. And this in particular, you will see now the demo with Robin. It's you will see how can integrate everything into the outcome you are willing to have, because it will analyze and compare the positions, and then you can create easily or more easy your intervention. So it's full reliable, again, I need to say. So please engage with it. And last but not least, as I was saying before, this is where artificial intelligence can make a meaningful difference. Tools like NegotiateCOP can help transform information overload into insight. They can process hundreds of documents, and you will see now when Robin is going to have the demo, in seconds, and identify thematic overlaps, track evolving language somehow, and show how positions may align or diverge. This is what I was telling you about. This was yesterday night. So you had yesterday 111 topics to be discussed. And on 10th of November night, that's Monday, yesterday, you had 98 topics to agree text. So this, I took it from Carbon Brief. This is another source and tool where you can track how the progress is getting done, but it's really challenging. Imagine 98 topics with 10 persons. It's impossible, barely impossible. And this is where I say developed countries overpasses the human capacities of developing nations. So without further ado, thank you, Robin and Johannes, for having me here. And thank you for that great engagement while we were developing you were developing the tool. I just supported with the insights. But truly, again, this is a call to all party delegates, special developing nations. Use it, test it, give us feedback, because this is the most important part. The best way to tailor the tool on AI is the user's feedback. So thank you, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Krista. This was a great introduction to kind of the challenges negotiators are facing. And now I know you've been patiently waiting. Now we come to the demo. The demo will be presented by Robin Nowak. Robin is a specialist for data for development at the GIZ Data Lab. He is specialized in AI for negotiations, and has developed also a tool for the plastic treaty negotiations that has been running for the past 2 years, and that it has informed also the development of NegotiateCOP. After the live demo, I will have a few closing remarks, and then we go into a Q&A session where you can ask about the tool and so on. So please, Robin, over to you. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much for the very helpful insights on the UNFCCC process in general for smaller delegations. That's actually the use case why we kicked this off, why we wanted to have a specific application to help smaller delegations. It was a long journey. Now we are here. You can see actually it's live, and you know, a live demo was always a little nerve-wracking exercise, so bear with me with the internet in general, but we are optimistic and we will try to go through all the features you can do on the application. So once you type into your address negotiatecop.org, you will land on this homepage. You have like a little introduction text, you will have some remarks on that, and then you will see directly the 3 main features of our application, which would be the submission explorer, the position comparison tool, and then also the portal chat. In this session, I will lead you through all of these tools. But before that, just like a little information on that huge disclaimer you can see here, because this platform uses AI, right? So we don't want to have the tool to be understood as it tries to replace negotiators or want to intervene in the negotiation process. For us, the best case scenario would be that the tool is understood as an assistant, basically to improve the search, the finding, the summarization of documents uploaded to the UNFCCC document, to the submission portal. We'll see this in a second. Krista already had a screenshot on that. All right, so down below then, some more information, also some information on who actually were the teams behind it, but as Johannes said, later on he will talk about this in a second. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into the first submission explorer, which I think is, in my opinion, the core functionality of this tool. So basically, it's an AI-enhanced interactive database of all the submissions uploaded to the UNFCCC submission portal. So every document you would find on a UNFCCC portal, you would also find in the tool with one constraint for now. We focus on recent documents. So for this prototype, it's still a prototype, we always want to say that. For this prototype, we focus on the year 2024, so COP29, and the recent updates, so the recent submissions from COP30. So actually today, I think, or even yesterday, I think no submission were uploaded to the portal, but starting right now, actually, I think the negotiations had started. So we have an interval of 3 hours, I guess, like an interval of 3 hours upload. So every 3 hours, it will be checked with the official UNFCCC website to see if there are new uploads, and then they will scraped automatically by our scrapers, by our platforms, algorithm systems, to integrate it into our database, and then you can interact with them with the tools I'm going to present you now. All right, and then you can actually check that also over here. So you have like a little indication. I hope you can see it, by the way. Yes. So we have the last update on November 11th, 1 p.m. GMT plus 1 time. But yeah, this will update it in no time. I guess like in the next couple of hours. All right, so what you can see here, the submissions are gathered by issues. So they are sorted by issues comparable to the official UNFCCC website. So you could see thematic areas on the right. So if I go to the right section here, you can see a thematic area, and then you can see the title of that issue, and within that issue you have all the submissions handed into that specific issue. We will see that in a second. So you could strive through all the issues by now, but we also have some cool filter options for you. So you can actually filter all these submissions or these issues by 5, I guess it's 5, right? 5 filters. So it's a document type. We have an own taxonomy on that. We will talk about this later. Also in the methodology page, you will see that, to actually make them AI readable for our tools. We have sessions, so you can select the sessions you're interested in, only submissions from COP30, from CMA 7, and so on. Submitter, you can see this is an exhaustive list with all the submitting parties, like not only countries, but also groups of states, NGOs, every party that actually submits something to the UNFCCC platform. Then we have type of parties, again, NGOs, parties, UN system parties, and then, as I mentioned, the thematic areas, which cover basically, or where the issues are coordinated in. All right, so I think let's go through this by an actual example, because the user story, how to present an app, is always kind of tricky, but I think like if we put ourselves in a position of a policy advisor, we want to learn something about climate finance, for instance. So you could actually just like search by the issues here, climate finance, but you could also use the filter over here. So let's say we click on climate finance. Then we wait for the internet. I'm sure it will come up. There it is. And then everything is actually filtered by this little tag we had now. So you can see all the issues, all the different issues submitted to that climate finance thematic area. Once I click, then maybe you are more interested in one specific issue. Let's say the new collective point. If I go on climate finance, we can click on that issue and another box will open. I mean, we will wait for it. Right there it is. So we can see now 3 columns, and in these columns we can see the submitter state, so group of state, party, and so ever, the submission file with links to the original source document of the submission, and then this little cool feature of this apply feature function, which is basically kind of our main goal of this whole browser. So what you can do now is you can click on that. Let's say we are interested in group of 77 in China. First of all, we could click on this official source document. And then we will be, if you look at the address line, we will be redirected to the official UNFCCC website. So this is not stored on our services, but it directly leads you to the official document for verification, for quick check, for quick access, basically. Then back to our tool. So we can click on Apply Smart Features here. And now another box opens up. And all you can see here is AI-generated text, so which is produced once a document is uploaded to our database. So again, a pipeline is kicked off then, and the document is then analyzed, and everything what you can see, like these little titles over here, so abstract, key asked, and fixed positions, I will explain that in a second, is automatically generated by a large language model pipeline in the background. And this is, again, every 3 hours, this is updated. So what we can see here, it's also based on the document type. So this is a view position. So we have the key asked, abstract, and fixed position. For another document type, for example, a report or something, we would have key recommendations or whatsoever. But we will see this in the methodology in a second. So what we can see here on our group of 77 in China submission is the abstract, which is basically a summary of the content of that submission. Then we can see the key asks, which is in bullet points, like they depict kind of the party's principal demands or objectives, like, for example, where flexibility or convergence may exist. And then, if applicable, it doesn't have to be, but if applicable, strong positions, or fixed positions as we call it, in the beginning we call them red lines, but we pivoted from that wording because we didn't want to imply that we figured out the red line of a country submission. So we went to this fixed position vocabulary. And this is indicated by signal words used in UN negotiations, like should, must, could, and so on. This would be then under the fixed position. I mean, all of this is generated for every submission. So if you want to have like a quick understanding of a summary, what are the key demands of one document or so, you can just like use this tool really quickly. If you know your workflow, you will be here in no time. I mean, now I'm talking much, explaining and so on, but if you like know the tool, know the workflow, you could have this in, I don't know, 2 minutes. Another cool thing is actually you can click here on this little copy to clipboard button, so you can have the notes copied, put it in your notes, send it via whatever you want, and you can have this little export button as well. So you can click on export, and it would open up like indication in the Excel sheet. You can download all those bullet points and everything you have seen here to an Excel sheet. All right, I mean, we could talk about this tool for long. We have different filters and so on, and you know, like different document types, but in order to get through all the features, I want to jump to the next tool, which is the position comparison tool. So there are basically 2 ways to enter this tool. So first of all, you can see here in the top menu the position comparison, the conservative way, I would say. You can click on that. But actually, if you stay in your workflow, you are like now looking at this one submission, and you want to compare that submission maybe to another document. So you could just like click on this country comparison button down below here. And what it does, it will redirect you by just one clicking that on this new website. It will catch basically, or it will store the country, the issue that you selected the submission, and which is like go to that little frame over here, and it has still selected the group of 77, and now you can just select another country out of this issue which you want to compare the submission with. So what you can do now is, like, you know, you can see like a bunch of countries again. We can strive through again not only countries, unique countries, but also groups of states and so on. It's an extensive list. As you can see, there are some duplicates sometimes. And maybe we want to compare it with Japan. We prepared that. So we can click on Japan, and then you have like the key ask, kind of the similar thing that you saw before, the key ask next to the G77 submission. If you scroll down, also the same thing for the fixed position. So basically what you saw for the Submission Explorer issue kind of thing is now also like in a two-column row, like where you can actually have a 2-column table from both submissions next side to side to each other. So key asks and the fixed positions. So you can, actually this is already helpful, I would say. You have it really quick. Again, if you are familiar with the workflow, you would be here in no time. But you also have this little indication of alignment down below. So here you have a little indication of alignment, which for those two submissions, it states potentially not aligned. So you might ask, like, how is this actually calculated? So behind that is kind of a methodology that calculated by a 3-step methodology. And also here I would recommend you to go basically to the methodology page. I will just do that now. I will just click on that, opening up a new tab. You have like background information, the technicalities, like how we did this, how we collect the data, the information of it, the features. I talked about like the document types, you will find the information on that. But we want to have the 3-step approach for calculating basically the indication of alignment. And what you can see here in the first step, the AI tries to address the information quality. So it tries to see if the quality is rated then as high, moderate, low, null, based on the level of detail and like the relevance of the COP30 themes. In a second step then it would try to detect contradictions. So it would say if there is a contradiction detected by the large language model, it'd say yes, and it wouldn't come to the next step, but only if there is no contradiction, then it will measure also the similarity of the key asks. And this is like done by 5 analytical dimensions, like goal, measures, timelines, sectors, and finance within that context of the submission. And then as a result, you would have like those 3 or 4 potential results, potentially aligned, potentially partially aligned, potentially not aligned, or no substantive position is available. All right, so let's jump back to our position. This is not it. I mean, now you have like seen the approach, but you could actually click on this little button over here, because this is what we learned from user feedbacks. It's not only cool that you have like this little indication, which maybe puts the foot into the door and you get the first impression of it, but you can have actually this transparency tool now. So we have like quality of information, it says moderate, and it has like also the little prompt behind it, or like the rationale, what is like actually the LLM asking towards the document. And then we could read out a little bit. I mean, I will not do that now, but you could just like try to follow along why the LLM decided that this specific indication of alignment was conducted. Then for major contradiction, we can see yes. And here I just want to read out like this little paragraph, because like also for this, once a document is uploaded, all these cross-references and all the fixed positions and key asks are already like prompted or like calculated beforehand. So it's every time the same answer. So it's like fixed and evaluated. It's not like that when you click on it, you will have another answer by now. It's every time it's like kind of hard-coded once the algorithm went over it. So what we can see here, it states for major contradictions, the group of 77 in China's fixed positions explicitly prohibit the inclusion of market rate loans and private finance mechanism in the NCQG. Japan's key asks call for expanding the NCQG contributor base by incorporating private finance mechanisms such as public-private partnerships and blended finance. And then it states, this created a direct mechanism conflict as one party rejects private finance while the other seeks to include it, resulting in a contradiction. So obviously then similarity is not similar because we have a contradiction. You could do the same thing again. You can export it and it will have like all the bullet points exported to your Excel sheet. All right, so I think even this, it's not, we don't want to say, okay, we have found a silver bullet. You can just take that. You don't have to read all the documents. That's not what we're trying to give you at hand here. This is just like a tool for a first rush into getting an overview of positions, to compare them really fast, and then maybe get the first impression of, okay, what do I have to maybe put my focus on within that document. All right, so because I'm a little bit behind time, I would just jump right to the last one, to the portal chat. And the portal chat is, I mean, we know this by now in end of 2025. We have seen this with Claude, Gemini, with all the chatbots, ChatGPT and so on. So I think you are familiar with this. We will have a free text semantic question and answer tool. So you can type in whatever you want here, and you can query basically our database of all the UNFCCC submissions which are stored in our database. So it gives you the option to query all of this. And we also have some conversational starters if you really don't know where you want to talk to. So you have some conversational starters, click on it, it will be opening up a chat. But to get back actually to our example from before, we are still in this workflow of G77 in China and Japan's comparison. And what we could do now, we have two options to actually filter. So we have, again, the issue filter, so we can see all the issues. And another option would be, again, like the filters you saw from before. But now we already know what we want to compare it. So we know that we want to query the portal through this one issue called New Collective Quantified Goals in Climate Finance, right? So then again, you see all the submissions. We could, again, select group of 77 in China because we have maybe a more in-depth question towards that. Maybe why do they state that statements? And then we could just like scroll down, it's a long list. And then we can ask a very specific question. We could try to dive deeper and understand actually why did they state that. So I have to read it out, it's a complex question. I'm not a climate negotiator, so I have to read it out. So why do the G77 formulate a prohibition for the inclusion of market rate loans and private financer mechanisms, right? So this is a very specific question, and we could just like prompt it here. And what happens in the background is basically this so-called RAG algorithm, so retrieval augmented generation. I'm not going to explain it by now, but the simple idea is actually that in the background, you could kind of imagine it like walking into a library. You have all the documents in the library, and you know the information is there, but you have to read all the documents to get the right answer. This is like what you typically would do with a very specific question. Now with that kind of algorithm or this RAG system, you could kind of install an intermediary of a smart librarian. So what it does is you go to the librarian and say like, I have a very specific question, like why do the 77 and so on. Only fetch me the relevant books out of the library that I have to read to answer that specific question. So I don't have to read all the documents. Because I know the information is somewhere there. So it fetches only the right relevant documents, tries to understand my user prompt, tries to seek out the relevant documents, and then generates the answer only based on that document. So when it's also very strict, so when there is no answer in a document, it tells you that. I didn't find any information on that, so it's very evidence-based and trustworthy because we always link also the sources. I mean, now I selected a source because we know what we wanted to talk to, but you could also leave that blank and ask what are the positions of that and that countries on, I don't know, something. All right, so now comes the real part, because this is generative AI, so I never saw this answer before, so bear with me, I have to just like look in it. So it states that the G77 argue that market rate loans and private finance mechanisms should be excluded because under the NCQG, climate finance must be provided concessional, grant-based or at highly favorable terms from development to development countries, market rate loans, and then it tries to explain to you, because we ask why. And you could believe it now, but maybe you are like skeptical, or you just want to have it again like your foot into the door. So you could actually click on that source document, will be redirected there again. You could copy maybe market rate loans, because okay, there's a bold statement on that. You can copy that, go to the document, search for it, and then you don't find anything, but maybe market rate, right, without the little minus button there. So then we can see, okay, loans at market rate and private finance at market rate of return cannot be termed as climate finance under, and so on. So you have the official document, you have fetched it from the document, and that's kind of the whole magic behind it. All right, so, and I just want to give you like a little cool tip. So you could also, we just tested it yesterday. So because it's an LLM, right? So you could just like say, explain it in bullet points, exclamation mark, why not? And then it's just an LLM, so it like tries to use your prompts. We have to wait, I think it's the same answer still, right? The internet hopefully is not gone. It's sending. But what you would get then is like bullet points on it, and you could type whatever you want, like maybe give some instructions towards the chatbot to actually give you as you want to have it exported. All right, it's still sending, the internet is not working, but test it yourself. So I would end this live demo here and just like hand it back to Johannes. After that, we will have some question and answers, and we will also be here every day in a walk-in session. You can come just in and we can have a chit-chat about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin, for this great presentation. I hope you're excited as excited as I am. Maybe you ask yourself already who's behind this. So it is really a whole of government effort. There are 3 data labs of 3 different German ministries behind it. So it's the Ministry of Development, the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, and the Ministry of Environment. And in addition, GIZ. So 4 data labs. And the development was carried out by a public sector consultancy called PD, and we had the advisory from Semune. And of course, we talked to many others, right? The COP presidency, we talked to UNFCCC, we talked to Harvard University, making sure that this is really state of the art and addresses the needs of the user. Let me quickly also just show you how this journey kind of took place. The idea for the tool emerged about a year ago, and then in March we started consultations with negotiators. So in August we really started the development. So this is like 4 months. 4 months ago, along the process, we interviewed Global South negotiators to make sure that also their needs are addressed in this tool. And so considering this very short development time, it's still a prototype, but it's already functional and you can use it. 2 important points. This is designed as a digital public good. It's 100% open, everybody can use it, okay? And it's 100% private. There's no login, there's no tracking of personal data, no storing of personal data. You can go ahead and use it. The users are staying 100% anonymous. It is also trustworthy. We've stretched this many times already. It's the database are only UNFCCC submissions, official submissions, and we know AI has many risks. AI can hallucinate, AI can be biased, but because we are taking the documents and prompted the AI to take answers from the documents, we are sticking to the original text, okay? And I think this is really, really important. As of now, it only has COP29 and COP30 in it. Hopefully in the future we will do the entire corpus of COP submissions. The model was trained with, or the model we are using is an open weight model from GPT. It's called GPT OSS, which means that all the parameters and all the weights inside the models are visible and you can tune them to your own needs. The AI is hosted on a European server. The server is 100% powered by renewable energy, which is, I think, very important to stretch in this regard. But this is not the only tool. This is not the only negotiation. We already mentioned there are the plastic treaty negotiations. For the plastic treaty negotiations, the GIZ Data Lab developed a tool called NegotiateAI. NegotiateAI is already running for 2 years, and we've gathered a lot of very positive feedback on the tool. Then we have, of course, NegotiateCOP, and then for the implementation of the Montreal Protocol, where funds are being negotiated, we have Montreal AI, an MVP which will be launched in December for the negotiations end. There are probably many other sectors where we can use this kind of approach, and we are really at the beginning, but we're very glad that we're on this road now, and we really look forward to your questions, insights. We will be here every day of the week, and please go ahead and use it yourself. And now we still have some time for questions. So yeah, please go ahead and maybe Robin, you can pass.
Test.
Great. Hello, my name is Angela Oels. I'm from the University of Augsburg, professor in climate politics. So I'm very curious about your tool. Thank you for the presentation. My question is, I mean, where would you do the comparison of all 70 submissions? Because I think that's what would really speed up the process. Do you do that with the open prompting section? Like, does it actually work when you ask, please now compare all submissions to one topic and tell me where's convergence, what are the points of difference? This is my first question. And the second is, and is that then reliable? Can you be sure it's not hallucinating?
Right. I will answer that question maybe, and then we go to the next one. And Robin, please add to my response. So, as you saw, we are really focused on bilateral comparisons because there we know the answers are reliable, right? And it's very computationally expensive to say, let's compare all documents, you saw how many that is, and compare these positions to each other. However, this is like a feature we could envision in the future where you then see maybe like a heat map or so where of countries and parties that are aligned and countries that are not aligned. And I hope that answers your question, but maybe Robin, you also have something else to add?
Yeah, I can just add, we also learned this from the plastic treaty negotiations. We had also like this open chatbot where we source the documents, and it's kind of the same what we have here. But the problem, maybe you heard about this context window of the AI. So whenever we want to pull like a very broad question, compare all the African positions on climate finance and find convergence or something, then the answer wouldn't maybe be wrong because it always cites the documents, but it would be definitely incomplete because the context window of the LLM would be extended by all the documents which had been feeded into the LLM, so the large language model. So I wouldn't say this would be the best way to do this. So that's why we actually urge the user to select some filters and narrow down the documents to have more precise answers. But this is actually what we're indicating in the text.
So you want to add on this question? Maybe can we take it and then we go to you? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michal. I'm the founder of Climate Policy Radar. We do something similar to you. We bring in all of the submissions into one place, but we don't have a chatbot on it. And this doesn't, and one day we'll do the things together and that'll be great. But what I mean is, there's two very different mindsets and asking what are the tasks that AI can help us do. There is identifying the building blocks, and then you can get a comprehensive set. And you say, here are all the places that talk about gender or about inclusion or about subsidies or about whatever. And that AI can do easily because you just need the classifiers and then you can find all the pieces. Doing the analysis piece on that, some of the LLM and the generative AI still has limitations, and that's what Robin was talking about. But if the analyst wants to then take it, now if you want to do it live in a negotiation setting, maybe you just want 3 examples and that's good enough. If you want to do as like a comprehensive analytical piece, that's a different piece, and then you can take it out and do it, in a regular way, but at least you know that you have all the evidence pieces. So when you use AI, it's really about asking what is the task that you're asking it to help you do. And writing it and identifying the evidence are slightly different pieces and different limitations to them.
Great, thanks you. The gentleman over there, thank you.
Hi everyone, Jingling Tan, I'm a PhD student from Harvard. Very curious, I missed the first few minutes, so hopefully this is not covered then, but I'm curious about the validation steps for any of the classifiers. Like, do you compare it with like some sort of human coding and see how much they correlate? I assume like a delegate would really want to ensure that it is somewhat reliable, comparable to a human being, like who codes the same documents. And do you have anything on that you could share? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very good question. So what we did is we did a kind of a blind test and said, okay, we have a human analyze a submission and we have the AI analyze a submission. We put these 2 answers next to each other and then gave it to Simune, to negotiators, to tell us which answer is better, which answer extracts the information you need best. And that was kind of our test with, I think, 30 to 50 different analyses that we did.
So I guess like there's not much difference from
No,
those
no,
tests.
it worked surprisingly well, and in some cases, I think the AI was even giving better analyses.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was a blind test actually, and I can speak for myself. But they tested it with many negotiators. But I would say that doing it blindly, what I read was more accurate in the sense of less wordy, less blah blah blah, and more to the point. So actually, it went quite well. It works well. But as I said before, I encourage you that you use it, and this is for all negotiators and more because I think AI, one of the greatest challenges is that the more you use it, the more you tailor it, and the more you can perfect it, to say somehow.
But also I need to say, of course, AI has risks, and AI can hallucinate. So this is why we always put the document next to it, so that there is a human in the loop, there is someone who's validating the answers. Exactly. But yeah, go ahead, please.
This time with a question. If I understand, and I missed most of your presentation, apologies, you took a generative AI approach. What about, did you take also a classifier approach? So, for example, somebody's looking for stuff about the just transition. How does it know what is the just transition? Because people describe it in very different ways. So did you develop any taxonomies or ontologies for any of those? Or are you assuming that the language model knows what the just transition is?
Yeah. No, we developed a taxonomy. I think where it was very critical actually was we had in the tool. I don't know if you missed this, but like in the tool when we have a submission, we analyze, we give a quick summary, then we say what are the key asks of the submitter, and then what are the fixed positions. And fixed positions is something that maybe the non-negotiables, the red lines or so. And especially there, we needed indicator words. So must, must not, cannot, shall, and so on, for the AI to understand that these are the kind of formulations to look for, and then extract those and display them as fixed positions.
And maybe just to add on that one thing, also what you saw on the methodology page, I don't know if you were there already, but we have, if you go on it, you will see that we have like an own taxonomy based on the document types, because what we see in the UNFCCC submission portal, there are I think like GST positions, like 4 types, but we had to make them AI ready to actually understand it and build our own taxonomy. This is a report, this is a view submission, and then we have like specific prompts for that specific document types for each of them.
Understood. So our follow-up question. So the must and the should have and all of those, I'm going to call them general language because they can apply to climate, and tomorrow they can apply to, I don't know, to a health treaty, right? Because they're fairly generic in how the language is used. And then there is very domain-specific language, right? If I say renewables, do I know that this turbine type belongs to the taxonomy of renewables? Did you do any work around that? Or did you leave it in the general language? Am I making sense? Does my question make sense?
It will be pointed to me. I have to check that in the background, but I would say no, actually we didn't like train specific classifiers on that or something. We relied on the generative, but we have very specific system prompts, and then again, specific document types, and then again, huge evaluation with so many people. So obviously, I mean, we didn't start from scratch annotating specific language or something for our own NegotiateCOP classifier system or something which is very precise on the language of the submissions. But again, with the system prompts, with the user tests and so on, we are sure that we are at a point where we can call this very valuable. Definitely. All right, are there any more questions, comments? Otherwise, yeah, there's one question.
So is this the first, probably of that kind you do? Is it a kind of rollout on other conferences, or how is the project developing further on?
Yes, thank you. So we had this also on one slide. So we did this at the GIZ Data Lab. We started for this for the UN Plastic Treaty negotiations. This was basically kind of the kick-off for this AI negotiation process. We on the endeavor, which we try to do. And then we had this scaling. There's the slide, actually. So Negotiate AI was 2 years ago, started also with the prototype. Now we have a unique website on it as well, basically doing kind of the same thing, but a little bit different. So it more focuses on the free chat, which indicates like sources after every sentence. So it's a little bit different. NegotiateCOP is the first time we roll it out today. So this is kind of the launch event of it. It's live for a few days, but nobody heard of it. And then we have also Montreal AI, which is a very basic MVP running on Hugging Face, which is this kind of GitHub platform where you can actually host your apps. And this will launch in December for the MLF, so the Multilateral Fund for Implementation of the Montreal Protocol, which have twice meetings in a year. So, yeah, so this is basically our portfolio right now. But as you said, like as we heard before, this could be scaled. This could be, you know, what about biodiv conferences? What about like in general, it's a knowledge management tool. So this could be scaled to other conferences and other negotiations. Yeah, definitely. All right, I have no idea about the time, so maybe we do a last.
No, I think it's fine. We can take two more questions.
Thank you. Hi, so nice presentation. I came a bit late, so sorry for that.
No
but I come from India, and we are seeing a huge transition in the energy space, which is energy transition. But I'm from the Institute TERI, and we have an Institute of Energy Transition. But we are seeing from the perspective of energy just transition. Now, artificial intelligence and machine learning is now very well embedded in all the processes in India, and especially in the process of just transition. For example, the power plants which run on thermal power plants on coal. So those we are phasing out those power plants, and our NDC goals are quite high, and 500 gigawatt India has promised by 2030, and we are well on track on clean energy. So my point is that how does this whole AI model that you have come up can be in sync with the work that we do at TERI and largely in Indian context, in the context of just transition?
Yeah, I mean, so two comments. First one is that the AI that we presented here today is really focused just on the COP30 process. And there are many more tools, for instance, also to analyze NDCs, to analyze emissions, to analyze just transition implementation. But this is really not the scope of this AI tool. The second comment I wanted to make is about like how we hosted the AI, because I think this is another kind of critical point to look at when using AI models, is kind of the energy footprint of those. And in this case, it's all powered by renewable energy. But yeah, so I don't, maybe this doesn't really answer your question, but really because this model is really focused on the COP30 process and not beyond that. But obviously you can use it for following the stream on just transitions and all the submissions regarding just transition. That is useful. Thank you.
And just quickly, because you well pointed it out, but it's about the negotiation process. So it's only following the negotiation process per se. So it's not deep diving in what each party is doing behind each line.
Okay, just maybe a final remark. For our research, we were collecting all the positions on loss and damage in this one-year process of the transition committee that then led to the decision in COP28. And we noticed that actually only half of the countries made submissions, and the other half was oral presentations. So we transcribed all the meeting notes, and only then you get the complete picture. So therefore, I would argue that your tool currently lacks half of the story. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, you could
no.
but I would say with AI you can probably, or with automation, not even AI, with automation, because that's what we did also. You can automatically transcribe all the sessions, and you get all the positions presented in the sessions, and then it could be fed into the system, but then it would be more complete, right?
And that is prohibited at the moment. You're not allowed during the negotiations to transcribe oral statements. So we spoke to the UNFCCC unit that is specialized on data and AI. And obviously that's like a super cool use case for AI to say, let's just transcribe everything that is being said. But then also because it has far-reaching implications, if the AI does any mistake, if something goes wrong during the transcription, then we have huge problems, and some countries don't want that this is happening. So yes, our tool doesn't include oral statements, and it's really just meant to support delegates in the analysis of the written submissions, which are already enough for small delegations to process. So it's a step towards this direction.
Yeah, maybe just to add on that, we also had this for the plastic treaty negotiations, the same demand, but we are simply not allowed to do that. We were also for the plastic negotiations, also for the UNFCCC negotiations, we were in contact with the secretariats, and they are developing like internal tools to actually do this. But this is not like, I guess it's not even on the plan to actually, host this like for the public, for public. So we just definitely not allowed to do this, and so we discussed it through, and actually there are also some complications with it. So how is the AI or the transcription actually understanding via video or via sound who is talking if there is not like a sign of a country delegation or something in front of them. So we also had like thought about this process, but actually not only that we are not allowed it, it's actually also kind of difficult to do that in a proper way that it's 100% trustworthy.
Great. So I think this was, a really interesting session. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for enduring the temperatures here. Looking forward to your feedback. Please come by. We are here at the stand. Thank you so much. Thank you, Krista. And have a good day, good negotiations. Thank you.
Global Mochidão, realizing just transitions. Welcome to the German Climate Pavilion at COP30 in Berlin.